Hello guys, hope you are doing good. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another interesting Power BI video today. We're going to solve some simple scenario questions, use some DAX to solve these. It's based on a very simple data set. So let's get into the data set. As you see, I have the name of some students and their simple max marks, right? We have to answer some questions based on this using DAX. Now, first question, how many students have scored more than 66 marks? Right? So if you have a look at the data, we see that Andy is there, Arnav is there, Ashish, Bala, Bhargav and Ben, right? So it looks like 6 students have been able to score more than 66 marks. Now, how do we show this as a calculation, right? So for that, you go to report view, select the data and say new measure. Okay. Now I'm going to write a formula, just follow along, right? So I will give it a name above 66. So what do we want to do? We want to calculate. So you call the calculate function, and now we want to count the number of students. So for that you can use this function called count A, and we want to count A of this value, right? Max marks value basically. And then what is the condition here? They have to have at least 66. So we can use the filter function. So we'll say filter. And where do we want to filter? In this max marks data set, and the condition is the max marks should be greater than 66, right? So now I close this and I close the overall, and then now when I enter, we have the formula, right? Now we have created a measure that is called above 66. Now when I click and call it, it has a value, okay? And it's showing me 6 values, right? As we saw, 6 people have scored above 66, right? So we are able to extract the values like this using a simple formula, right? We use calculate, counting the number of rows and then filtering where max marks is greater than 66, right? Pretty easy and also a bit tricky question. Now let's move to second question. How many students have scored more than the average? Okay, how can we do this? So first, let's go back here and create another new measure. Let's see what is the average actually. Okay, so I'll give it a name average. And how do we calculate the average? It's very straightforward. We can simply call the average function. I want to see the average of max marks, right, in this data set. So I can just hit enter. Now we have a new measure called average. So if I bring that in here, now average is showing 69. So the average is actually 69. So we want to see how many students have scored above the average, right? So for that, again, I'll go back here and I'll say new measure, right? This is going to be a bit complicated, maybe 3-4 lines of code. So let's go and check. So we know average is 69. So above average, I'll give it a name, right? Now you can put shift enter to move to the next line. First of all, I'll use a variable to calculate the average marks. Maybe I'll give it a name average mark or something like that, right? And we know this is basically the average of max marks, right? So I'm doing the calculation again just to show everyone, right? Now what we want to do is, now we want to count how many people are above the average, right? So we can use the return statement to return the actual value, and then we could say calculate, right? Again, we want to do a calculation, and again we want to count the number of rows. So I'll say count max marks column from this max marks data set. And now what is the filter? The filter is in the same data set max marks, and actually we want this value of max marks should be above the average, right? Average is created by this avg mark variable. So I have to say this is greater than avg mark, which will be 69, and then I can simply close this. Okay, so this way it will return the number of people who have above the average, right? So I've entered. So formula seems to be working. Let me just bring this in. So now above average, if you see, it says 4 students, right? I'm keeping that there. Now let's go and check. And if you see above 69, there is only Ashish, Bala, Bhargav and Ben, right? Arnav is equal to 69. So we don't want that. So there are only 4 students above 69. Okay. So again, a pretty tricky formula as you see. Just to recap, I am first creating a variable average mark, finding the average. Then I am returning the calculation where I'm counting the number of rows where the max marks, right, by putting a filter is greater than the average mark, right? This is how you can use DAX to do this calculation. Okay, let's move to the last question. How many students scored between 70 and 80? Right, it's very similar to what we have done, but let's go and try how this question can be solved. Right, so we want between 70 and 80. So you can give a name here as usual. Right, I can say between 70 and 80. Okay, I'm going to remove the E, and again we can use a calculate function itself. Right, procedure is very similar, calculate is super powerful. Now I want to count the number of rows, so I am going to select that column again, and here we have two filters. Right, so I can say filter from this max mark data set wherever actual max marks is greater than 70. Right, rule number 1. Then you can put another comma and also write a second rule. Okay, so I want to say filter again this max marks data set, and this max marks column itself, right, should be less than 80. Right, and since it said between 70 and 80, I can probably put greater than or equal to 70 and less than or equal to 80, right, to make sure those cases are also covered. Right, so I put two filters. Now let's close the brackets. I think we should be on our way. So filter, I put max marks is greater than or equal to 70 and 80. Right, so let's try. Okay, I forgot to close county. I think I'll close that, and now I hope this should work. Right, so we have put two filters. Okay, still there's some syntax error, so let's check. So I guess there are like extra bracket. Now it should work. Okay, now if I bring in this between 70 and 80 also here, it's this small blue one, it shows only 3 people. Right, so I'm counting the number of people who have above 70 marks at the same time less than or equal to 80. Right, so anyone between 70 and 80, and if you see, it shows me value 3. Right, let's go and cross check. So between 70 and 80 we have Ashish, we have Ben, and we have Bala. Right, only these 3 people, and Bala is actually exactly 80, so the answer is correct. Right, so that is how you can use again calculate and count functions along with filter. Right, so I hope you enjoyed these kind of scenario questions. If you like the video, do subscribe to the channel, follow me for more such videos. I will see you again in another video. Till then, take care, bye.